screen. So you can do one or the other. Do-Re-Mi 1, 2, 3, another kids app, very, very cool app. Isle of Tune, I talked about this. You like lay out a street, and then the houses and everything that you put on become a loop. So it's a way of creating music without actually dealing with notes and symbols and everything. Instead, you're dealing with building a city almost. Oh, here's a cool one. Quaver Music. I was just talking about Quaver Music. They just came out with a whole K through 6 curriculum this fall. It's expensive. It's like $6,000 to get the curriculum. But this Quaver Music is huge, by the way. It's growing bigger and bigger and bigger because it catches kids. It's exciting, it's fun, and it's still teaching core thing. Quasternotes is one of their first apps, and basically it's asteroids with musical notes. So you get a whole note that blows up into 2 half notes, that blows up into quarter notes, that blows up into eighth notes, that blows up into 16th notes. And I haven't gotten to 32nd yet because I get destroyed before that. But with all seriousness, how better to teach values of notes and their relation to each other to a kid than to put it again into a game teaching note value relation to each other? Seriously, it's brilliant. Brilliant app, just for that. Here's one that a couple band directors are using, Read Rhythm, where it actually, you play the rhythm 3 times and you tap it out on the iPad, and it scores you for your ability in how to play rhythm. Read Rhythm, another app. App Play Music is centered in Minneapolis somewhere. I ran into their creators one time. We had a deal, and they have a number of apps that they've been working on, but basically they have it for a number of instruments. And I think I have the full list on the website. When you look at the website, like trumpet's there, violin, viola, tuba is there now. And basically, you play along with your tuba, it listens to you. It's kind of like smart music, but not as official, if that makes sense. You can buy extra music to play along with. It's a great deal. Recorders there. Of course, GarageBand. You all know about GarageBand, right? Yeah, I'm not going to go into any further. Just whatever. ThumbJam. And I'll just preface this with this. ThumbJam is an app that you can choose a number of digital sounds, and it plays a number of different ways. There was a director out in Seymour High School in Seymour, Connecticut, there was a local symphony that, together with a grant, did a combination where his high school music theory kids played music on iPads with the symphony, doing a combination of the actual symphony and the iPads together in a performance. And they wrote this world premiere performance, and it's pretty much the first thing. He used ThumbJams for the string songs because at that point, GarageBand did not yet have the orchestra instruments, which it added like the next year. By the way, with GarageBand, if you ever play GarageBand, just so you know, how you interact with the instrument impacts the sound that you get. So, if I go to my Apple apps, I should be able to find GarageBand in here somewhere. If I go to the string instruments, I just want to show you this. Give it a second to load. Hopefully it comes through. So far, so good. I'll just choose this one for now. I'm going to change my instrument to smart strings, or like this. And of course, you get inversions of a chord like this. But if you bow, it's touch sensitive in terms of how fast you bow it. And so as you work with that, there's a lot of skill techniques you can teach too. So, that kind of. By the way, there's all sorts of different settings too. You can change the sound of the actual instruments. There's a ton of stuff you can do with GarageBand you'd never even think that was there. So anyway, virtual instruments is a big deal, and there are literally thousands. If you need a specific virtual instrument, on my webpage there are references to other blogs, thousands to choose from, and some are free if you need them. So there you go. AudioBus. Here's a crazy app. AudioBus acts as a central clearinghouse for live performance apps, processing apps, and then final output apps. So basically, you can play different instruments, virtual instruments, patch in an AudioBus, use effects, and then patch it out to another app. I don't use this very much, but in terms of music technology, this allows a huge list of apps to interact with each other, including GarageBand. So this is what's crazy, is Apple opened up their standard to this, which usually doesn't happen. Usually Apple's the one that says, we're the standard. They open their door to that. That almost never happens. Couple instrument apps, especially if you're going to be teaching elementary education, you might want to know these. Percussive gives you xylophone and calophone and all sorts of other apps. And then there's also percussive Latin, if you want some Latin instruments. Ooh la la, spicy. Okay? Save your still awake. All right, now, there are a bunch of audio editors. I mentioned earlier today, in an earlier deal, I mentioned that there's an app called Pocket WavePad, but Twisted Wave is a paid app. It's probably the best out there, but again, there are free ones, just to let you know. Continuing on. Here's a good one. I went down to speak in Texas, and I did not name this app, and I actually had people that were mad at me. It turns out it was a local app. It's an app made by a Texan, and it's very popular. It's a tuner, and it has a couple different settings, but the main idea is that as you play in tune, it focuses in, and when it's in tune, there's a smiley face and screen that shows in the center of the screen. A lot of string players, a lot of string teachers, a lot of band directors love this app. They put it up on their board, they project, the kids playing their trumpet, they work until they get in tune. So, tonal energy tuner. iRealBeat, if you know the app or the program Band in a Box, it makes accompaniments with it. Well, iRealBeat is basically Band in the Box for the iPad, or the iOS, or Android. It's out there. So you put in the chords, and then you choose the type of style of music, and it plays along with you. Great for improvisation, teaching jazz, you name it. So, iRealBeat. We're just singing in the shower. Smart Music, your next session is going to be on Smart Music. It is on the iPad. There are a lot of bugs still. They know. They're working on it. They're working on it very, very, very hard. But right now, you can do some things on Smart Music on the iPad, and it's only going to get better as time goes on. Guitar Toolkit. Let's say you teach a guitar class. A lot of people don't want to, but I tell you, when we've got 80% of our kids in high schools across the country not in music, maybe we should be thinking about expanding our horizons a little bit, because we're not getting them into our traditional programs as it is. So how can we reach them? Because we believe music is for every child and every child's for music, right? Guitar is one way to do that. And we've got more guitar players in our school than we want to ever imagine. So we do something to teach them. Well, the answer is yes, and there's lots of apps. The best app is Guitar Toolkit by far. The tuners that are on there, the alternate tunings, the tunings for other instruments like ukulele, which is hugely popular right now. Hugely popular right now. Ukulele kids all over are playing ukes. They are. Mandolins, all the tunings are out there. Guitar Toolkit, great app. This happened to me the other day. I'm licensed in band and choir, but it's been many years since I taught band. The band director came to me the other day and said, "Hey, I'm sick. I need to go home. Will you take my classes today?" Because we kind of have a light day and a heavy day, and her heavy day is my light day, and my light day is her heavy. It's kind of the same deal. So I was like, okay. So I ended up teaching band. The very first thing. All right, guys, so that's an A flat. Make sure it's an A flat. Ready? And then kid pulls up her clarinet. How do you play an A flat? It's been how long since I've done fingerings on a clarinet? I mean, it's been forever. I'm like, look it up in the back of your book. That's why it's there. That's why you have a book. And then, of course, they don't do that. Then they ask their friend next to them, and you're just like that. But let's say you're on your iPad, you want to show fingering, app called Fingerings. There you go. Here's a great one. Apps gone free. Every day, there's a list of 10 or 12 apps, and every now and then you find a good one. That was normally $6, and today it's free. So every day they change those. You'll find some good ones, and you'll find some clunkers. So to find new apps, how do you do that? You read blogs. And you follow Twitter accounts of people that are music techies. That's the way to do it. Once you're interested in an app, Google it, or Bing it, or DuckDuckGo it. Those are all different search engines. Yeah, DuckDuckGo is kind of growing because it doesn't store any of your search data. So whereas Google uses everything you put into it, okay? It's the opposite, and of course Bing is Microsoft. App ratings. It's always fun to look in the App Store and see that this wonderful app only got 2 stars. Then it doesn't take sometimes long to realize that a company is purposely giving negative ratings to an app just to make it, a competing company. It happens all the time. Or you'll get companies that have all their employees log in and give it positive ratings when it's not really that good an app. So really, read blogs, go out there and do the search, and then be aware that some blogs are actually paid to review apps. I never get paid to review an app, but I do occasionally get a free app download to review an app. So I don't make any promises with that. So just be careful. If you're getting paid $50 to review an app, you're going to probably write a positive review of that app because you just got paid $50 to do it. Oh, and here's a huge one. There are a lot of apps that haven't been updated forever. Date today is October 12th, 2013. This is one of the apps that I use. Look when it was last updated, August 24th, 2011. If somebody else is looking at buying that app, I tell them no, because if the company isn't at least updating something after iOS 7 comes out or something, we've got a problem. So you got to be really careful with that. So my website, techmusichead.com, all those apps are listed there. Feel free to look through them. They're all home run apps. There's no question about it. So lots of different ways, lots of different things you can do, and then there's like a million apps on top of this. Do you have any questions or anything you want to see? Yes?
Yeah. In your experience, what is, are there benefits to having a Chromebook or something that's not an iPad, or is iPad really the way to go app-wise? I mean, I know app-wise, yes, but
okay. That's a great question. I brought this along just in case. I own a MacBook and I own a Chromebook, and I actually just purchased off eBay a Windows 8 tablet as well, just so that I can help other teachers. Here's what happens. Some school districts just make that decision for you as a teacher, and they say, all right, here you go, grab any Chromebooks. Here's the problem, and this is what I said in the elementary session. Which choir director in the world is going to have your kids doing that? Which band director is going to do that? Have your kids put their things on that. Chromebook, does Smart Music run on here? And you're going to find out Smart Music is a much bigger deal, and it's going to be a much bigger deal than we've ever thought as teacher evaluations come into play, needing objective data. This device doesn't fit in general music. This device just doesn't fit in our rooms. We don't have desks, we don't have whatever. So here's my thing, what I say with that is that my philosophy or my thought of what's going to happen is that if you go all Chromebooks, kids aren't going to really be able to use them that often in class. You may end up buying an iPad for your own personal use or ask your district to buy your own personal iPad to use in your classes because this device doesn't fit. And when they're buying 2 of these for every iPad, they probably have the money left over to get you an iPad knowing that. And then the way to sell that then is say, look, I'm all on board with the Chromebook, but it doesn't fit in music yet. I need an iPad. Can I have the funding to get an iPad? Just one iPad for me to use with my kids. And chances are you'll probably get it if you ask that way. So
what about the Windows tablet? How's
Windows,
that working?
Yeah, then the question becomes apps. And then what are you going to do? There's only a couple good music readers, and we always start off with what's the most easy way to start using a tablet, and the answer comes all the way back to here, which is the easiest way to start using a tablet is to have your music on it. That's the first thing you do. And then after that, you can throw in other things. But the easiest way to go from anything paper or anything in your classroom is to, and boy, I'll tell you, when you're teaching and the music is right behind you as you're teaching, so, let's say you're working on Call Me Maybe or whatever, and you're going through and you're working on a piano and you're playing off of it, kids can see where you are. When you turn the page, they see that page get turned. They know they're supposed to turn the page, because let's be honest, they don't always know where they're at. Now, this gets a little bit harder for band directors, and there's 2 answers to that, by the way, which is you can always turn your iPad that way and turn with half pages. That's one option. Of course, if your score is a whole page, you have an issue. And there's also a rumor that Apple's going to be making a 13-inch iPad that's going to be possibly coming out in a year, which would be substantially larger. And then I think every music teacher in the world would say, I want that one for me, iPad works great, by the way, just for individual, band kids. So, I don't have it in there. We go to, even piano music. It works just fine. Let me go to my set list of piano music. It works just fine. Here's my Easy Classics to Moderns for piano that I scan in. It works just fine one-on-one for playing music by yourself or as an individual instrument. It's when you're a band director or orchestra director, it maybe gets a little small. So it's possible that the tablet could work, but you want to go where the apps are and where all the benefits are?